Oceanlord, and I'm Peter, and I'm looking after guitars and vocals. Jace, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jay. I'm on the bass.
Yeah, so we've got our album Kingdom Cold coming out Friday the 26th, tomorrow. So it should be out by the time anyone hears this. And yeah, it's our debut album released with Magnetic Eye, and we're pretty excited.
Beautiful, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Cool. So, Oceanlord released your debut album, Kingdom Cold, on Friday, May 26th, as you say. So, how are you feeling about it, guys?
Um, it just unbelievable. If you told me 10 years ago, 5 years ago that we'd be doing this today, I would have laughed. We put in a lot of hard work. Pete's just pulling out riffs and lyrics left, right, and center, molding this stuff together, and we've been working really hard. And it's amazing, to be able to have someone like Espen Willems do our mixing and mastering, and then having Magnetic Eye pick us up. It's brilliant. Like, I had a series of goals that I wanted to achieve with this band. I think we surpassed that a long time ago for me.
Oh, g'day, John. How you going, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. Yourself?
Good, bro. Thanks for joining us.
What have I missed?
I need the first boring question, mate. So you're in here for all the good stuff now. So I get you to tell me a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you were going for with it.
Sure. I'll jump on that one. We've really got kind of a few musical aims that we're looking to achieve. One of them was just massive doomy wall of sound riffs is something that we've all loved, and so we've really wanted to capture that. And there's something about three-piece doom that's sparse but massive at the same time. It's not kind of massively intricate, but it's thick. And then with that, we really wanted to capture more melodic, kind of this contrast of beauty and heaviness. So that was really the goal, throughout writing songs and making the album. Is we sort of kept coming back to those 2 points. How can we make this heavier? How can we make this more beautiful? And then how do we keep those two in balance? So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I guess part of that was kind of leaving space for things to happen. I like my drums. There's so little in there, because I didn't want to get in the way of what else was going on. Same with Jason with the bass. It's the simplest bass, but it's for us. Sometimes as a player, you can get kind of bored with playing simply, and then you end up filling it with stuff. And that's something that we really wanted to avoid, and so we could let the other things take up the space, which is guitar stuff and vocals.
You've released the singles "Come Home" and is it 2340 or 2340 or 2340?
2340 is the canonical name. Should have put a colon in there to indicate that it's 24-hour time.
So you've released the singles 2340 and "Come Home." So are they a good sonic representation overall of what to expect?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's Kingdom as a single in there as well. And between those three songs, they really capture the breadth, I think, of what we're doing, where Kingdom really covers the doom sludge kind of aspect. 2340 hits more of the melodic, and I don't know, almost like alt balladish component of doom. And then with Come Home, we've got more of the epic and psychedelic mix of everything.
So, as we mentioned before, this is your debut album, guys. So what sorts of things do you consider going into your debut? Like, you have to focus on anything in particular?
Finishing an album was probably the biggest focus that we had. And so, like coming into a debut, it's really easy, I think, to overthink what we're trying to do. And you can start second guessing yourself because you're thinking, I'm never going to get a chance to release our first album ever again. But I think, we did a good job. I think together, reining that back in and saying, no, our first album is just going to represent the music that we've written, how we play, who we are, and what our goals are right now. And it was just trying to keep ourselves focused on express the music that we have, you know, put all of our effort and our heart into it, and it'll be what it'll be. And we're really happy with how that went.
And your music, as you say, has its genesis in doom metal, but it also incorporates many other layers sonically. So is it a sound you guys sort of created over time, or did you just throw a few things against the wall and see with what stuck?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Pete and I started messing about with stuff a long time ago, and there's a couple of riffs that we started on back in like 2015 that we just sort of Pete came up with and we were messing with, and they've found themselves evolving so much, and they're on the album now. But they've been, I mean, they've had a life of almost 8 years, but they've evolved. So it just sort of, from my perspective, things just worked, and we took things that worked and things that didn't, we sort of pushed aside, but then those things might come back later in another track. And it's just been a really awesome evolution of different things, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Anyone else got anything to add?
Yeah, it always surprises me where music comes from. You know, there's some of these riffs that we have, I can't even remember how they came about. They just seem to have always been part of the song. Whereas other parts of our songs we've, you know, tweaked and honed and played a riff slightly differently this way and slightly differently that way before we found something that fit. And then there's just freak changes. I think we had the final kind of moment and riff of Come Home. We recorded it one way, and then I was doing the tracking at home, and I'm, you know, more of the educated amateur recording. And so really I was just trying to get everything right. But the last part of the song slipped on the track. The guitars and bass moved against the drums, and it was in the wrong spot, but it sounded better. And that was in our kind of demoing phase. And so that's just how we started playing it from then on. So, you know, in that case, it was just the random chaos of the universe directing our riff.
Oh, and you're also inspired by horror and the writings of New England author Howard Phillips Lovecraft. So how does that translate to your music?
So, probably at the moment, there's probably more. Pete, would you say that's more of the lyrical side of things?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think the general aesthetic of his writing is also very sparse. His writing's not action-packed with descriptions of monsters and tentacles flying and teeth gouging. There's a lot of space, and I think that kind of fit well with our musical philosophy as well. But yeah, I would say that lyrically, I've been thinking of things of like writing songs within the universe that Lovecraft writes. So rather than trying to kind of rehash his stories or writings or kind of retell Lovecraft, it's to think about the Lovecraftian horror as the world in which we live in, and then kind of write the songs I might write living in that world.
And Oceanlord started back in 2019, guys. So what was your early vision for the band, and how has it changed since?
Yeah.
Fun. Do play what we want to play, enjoy it, have fun. That was one of the main things that we talked about. And you know, there's times when we get a bit stressed and that sort of falls to the wayside, and then we go, hang on a minute, what are we doing this again for? And we come back and we end up having fun again, and just jamming and playing the tracks has a real shift in how we're thinking and feeling. So for me, it's in particular that's key for me. But at the same time, who doesn't want to see a bunch of people in a gig rocking out to the stuff you're playing? It's just a cool feeling, and having that connection with the crowd as well. Like, we're all enjoying this, we're doing this together, and that's a big thing for me. That's a huge driver for what we're doing. So you know, where the music goes, it might change next album. It might be different. It might not. It might be the same. But whatever we do, we still want to keep that thing happening.
And
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to agree. Nailed it.
nailed it, beautiful. And Pete, you actually built a home studio and tracked this album during the pandemic, mate. So how was that experience?
That was great. That kept me sane. I'm sitting in it now, talking to you. you know, we had the lockdowns, and I moved house, and where I moved had this big kind of 2.5 car garage filled with rotting plaster, and you know, it was pretty awful. But yeah, while we were all stuck at home, I found out that if you have an ABN, you could get a Bunnings Power Pass card, and then even though you're locked down, you're allowed to go to Bunnings and buy stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my out. Is you know, I got a lot of the materials delivered and just focused on, you know, fitting out soundproofing and getting myself a space. And so that was great, because it meant that we've had a place to rehearse. You know, John's drums are set up behind me and they live here. And when we want to rehearse, we park our cars. Well, they park their cars. I wander over from the house. We plug in and we play. And that's just been great to have that kind of continuous, easy, just get into the music and play without a lot of distractions.
And I think one of the really important factors there is that the money we save on rehearsal studios each week, we can put into beer. So, you know,
priorities.
It's a balance.
Very good. Have you guys got any shows coming up to promote the album?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got DeVille we're playing with on the 16th of June. So they're coming over from Sweden, and we're super pumped to be playing with them and Child and Nuada. So that's going to be a great show at the Stay Gold in Brunswick. Then a little bit after that, on the 24th of June, we've got Doom in June, which is a festival that Jay has been running for a few years. Previously more in the middle of Melbourne, and we've moved it out to the to Sunbury. So that's going to be really cool. I've been helping Jay kind of organize that.
Not this Jay, different Jay.
Not that Jay, different Jay, Jay Stark. Yeah, Jay Stark, the legend. So yeah, Doom in June, 24th of June in Sunbury. Then on the 22nd, 22nd of July, we're in Canberra playing with cool bands who we can't talk about because it's all under wraps as to who's playing that show. But we can say that we're there at Hard Out Festival.
The coolest band of all of them, mate. You don't have to mention anyone else.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And in the meantime, Kingdom Cold is out this Friday, May 26th. And where can people get themselves a copy?
So physical copies, Bandcamp, or you know, come to a show. Write us a letter, send us a note. Alternatively, you know, we're streaming on all of the places. So, you know, my personal favorite's Tidal at the moment. But you know, Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, everywhere.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for your time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and best of luck with the album.